we're rolling. We're on. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Adwaith Aiyappa. I am a 2024 batch student and currently pursuing my chemical engineering in Hyderabad. So, today I am going to touch upon a few topics. We're going to explore one particular case of a company, of a Chinese company, and also the impact that these circumstances relating to trading with China and the US-China trade relationships have on the global scale, the world at large. So, why China? Why USA? For a long time, the world has been bipolar, with USA dominating the scene, being the world's superpower and having a hold over most of the world's resources, as well as negotiations and diplomatic ties with most of the powerful resource holding countries within the world. USA has enjoyed the privilege of having good negotiations with most countries around the world. But times are changing now. Our neighbor next door, China, is seen as the world's next superpower, and we're looking at China to overtake USA to take the top spot. So, if we look at a few statistics, this is the GDP of US and China from 1960 to 2020. Now, while it looks like China has a little bit to cover up, if we do adjust for PPP, which is the purchasing power parity, which equalizes the values for the dollar and the Chinese currencies, we'll see that China has already overtaken USA in 2014, which puts China as the #1 economic superpower of the world as of today. The implications that these have are wide and various, and we have to understand that China is the largest country in the world in terms of a combination of population, economy, and manufacturing. So China was once known for its low-cost manufacturing and production, but today they're moving into providing more of high-end services, and they're producing higher-end products that better suit to the markets of today. Now, why is there an issue of trade with US and China? It actually does have a lot to stem down with the consensus of the citizens of the two countries. A majority of American citizens do not have a positive outlook on China as a trading partner. A little data over here. Most Americans are critical of China's role in the world. So Americans do not feel that China contributes to world peace. Americans, they feel that China is a threat to their economy and their standing as the global leader, as the global superpower. They are critical of the China-Russia relationship, and this has sentimental emotions relating with the Cold War, where naturally the communism and how Russia is seen as the biggest threat and enemy of USA. But on the bright side, Americans do commend China for its rapid economic development, the development that we have seen in China's military sectors, and the way China's technological and academic advancements have taken place in such a short span of time. So, it's not just about the people. So, the issue is also with politics. So, bring in American and Chinese politics, and we see that even in the current ongoing US elections, one of the main manifestos of the US candidates is to drive out the Chinese competitors within the American markets. At the same time, the Chinese are not far behind. They propel the same ideas and they use the same ideologies to propel Chinese nationalism, with the CCP directly promoting and supporting in-house production and domestic markets, domestic companies, because for China, their companies are their backbone. So they are what the Chinese are projected throughout the world. They are also how Chinese, they are the strong backbone of the Chinese economy. The Chinese are being accused of espionage and intellectual property theft. This is also another major reason why the Americans are have inhibitions towards partnering with China as a trade partner. They do feel that having China work within their borders might lead to security threats and potential issues wherein sovereign technologies of produced within the United States is being stolen, and this intellectual property theft is a one-sided benefit for the Chinese to develop manufacturing within their country and depriving other countries of their research and development. Now, the US has imposed many sanctions on the Chinese due to their distrust with how the Chinese perform their businesses. Now, in today's world, the biggest threat for the biggest shifts within world trade are usually brought down by policies made by Washington. So, sanctions such as the one imposed on manufacturing of like iPhones in China caused a major shift in the manufacturing sector of Apple's iPhones, and they had to look into other diversifications such as producing within India and countries like Vietnam and Taiwan. So, as I was also another point, so China was the single largest manufacturer of iPhones globally. This changed in 2016, wherein Apple was forced to develop manufacturing in countries abroad. So it approached India and countries like Vietnam and Taiwan. And today we have companies like Foxconn, Pegatron, and Wistron, which is acquired by Tata, who have set up manufacturing hubs within India, in Chennai and Bengaluru. And Apple also aims to produce 25% of all its iPhones in India by 2028. So now I would like to talk about about a particular company, a global giant until 2019, after which severe sanctions imposed on Huawei by Washington led to a huge downfall in its markets, leading to Huawei's top management requiring to panic sell their stocks, as well as 70% of their income slashing down, and also 30% of its manufacturing to shut down. Now, this happened in May of 2019, wherein Washington classified Huawei under their entity list. So what this does is it put Huawei under a watch list, wherein trade and negotiations with Huawei would be dealt as suspicion, and they would also be scrutinized to further to further observance by intelligence within the USA, and there would be restrictions on how other companies within USA and abroad deal with Huawei as a company, as a foreign partner. This came as quite a blow to Huawei. Huawei's top management, they regarded USA as one of their prime markets. They had 80% of all their consumption within US markets, and this certainly was very devastating for the company at the time. But what does not kill you makes you stronger, and this is exactly what Huawei incorporated into their system. After the sanction imposed on Huawei decided to turn away from focusing on the US markets and decided to develop their in-house chip development. So they focused on producing for their domestic markets, and this was the single largest change that projected Huawei on a path of downfall to their comeback, which made them stronger than before. So Huawei went from a company which had to panic sell their stocks. They began developing the phones which they had to shut down because they were not in supply of the high-end chips that they required to develop their phones, were now being developed at a faster pace domestically, reducing the incurred costs as well as also allowing Huawei to diversify their portfolio. So now Huawei went from a company that focused on technology and chips. They began exploring domains like logistics, which is they began setting up ports on the coastal areas of China. They ventured into other domains like electronic vehicles and AI. So we know of the Harmony OS, an OS that was domestically manufactured by Huawei, and today Huawei is again one of the leading global giants all over the world. Talking about AI, patents for large language models all over the world. Out of the top 5 companies that hold the maximum number of patents for large language models all around the world, the top 4 companies are all top 4 positions are all held by Chinese companies. Only at 4th place do we have IBM with 356 patents, and the rest of the positions as well are all dominated by Chinese companies. Now, this is natural for the Americans. It's a classic example of American protectionism. They are. It's also a blend of politics and Chinese nationalism, as I already mentioned. Security concerns as well. But what we need to understand is that as the world becomes increasingly bipolar, both countries do understand that partnering with one another is essential. The Chinese find it as a requirement to be able to tap into the US as a market for their premium goods. American customers are willing to pay the premium for high quality products, and the Chinese want to cash on this. So both companies need to look for domains within each other's interests and find a gray area where they can all agree on. Legislators and other parties involved need to be more liberal and understanding towards each other's requirements. Now this requires a lot of diplomacy and also understanding. It certainly is not going to be easy, but if we need to move forward, this is a basis requirement. So China finds USA as the gateway to the global supply chain. USA as a destination opens China's markets for Chinese companies and acts as a gateway to destinations all across the world, as well as logistics. In return, the Americans too have a lot to offer for the Chinese. Now, United States is the world's largest exporter for natural energy. So they're the largest exporters of liquefied natural gas. And looking at the current position that China is at, it is in the need for a lot of, it has a huge energy requirement. The Americans also have a lot to offer in the agriculture sector. So China, with its growing population, also looks at this as an opportunity that it can thrive on. With its growing population and its nutritional requirements increasing, so Americans have a lot to offer in agricultural equipments, heavy industries. They also have a lot to offer in agricultural produce. That is, from simple things like soya beans and soya chunks and corn and maize, which are staple diets for the Chinese population at large. Together, both of these superpowers, they have a huge influence on the world trade, and capital investments from China into American economies facilitates this transfer of power. They also do have ongoing collaborations in research and development. With collaborations, we have seen collaborations in the space programs between both countries. We have also seen collaborations in semiconductor development and AI models in various regions, in various domains. So as long as the top brass and the policymakers within both countries are able to understand each other's needs, we can have more development, more economy, and more flourishing. Thank you.